Doctors began to examine the first 8 survivors of the crash of Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, something became clear. These men had to have consumed something other than just the cheese, herbs, and snow they claimed to have eaten to survive.
The Andes flight disaster, when survivors ate the dead. A plane crashes in the middle of the Andes. No civilization for miles. No food, no heat. Just 29 survivors and the frozen bodies of their teammates. Days turn into weeks. Starvation takes hold. And then, one horrifying decision changes everything. Would you eat human flesh to stay alive? October 12, 1972, Montevideo, Uruguay. The Old Christians Club, a close-knit rugby team, is buzzing with excitement. They're heading to Chile for a match. A quick flight, a fun weekend, and a return home. Just another trip, just another game. None of them know that most of them will never come back. Friends, brothers, sons. They board Fairchild Flight 571, a twin-engine turboprop. 45 people total, 19 players. Their friends, family, and crew. Spirits are high. Some tease their nervous teammate, calling him a baby for fearing turbulence. Others settle in, excited for the mountains below. If only they knew, those mountains would soon become their graveyard. The first half of the flight is smooth. The Andes unfold beneath them, a breathtaking sight. But as they approach Chile, clouds thicken, winds pick up. The pilots, seasoned but cautious, rely on calculations rather than sight. And that is where everything goes wrong. They believe they've cleared the Andes, that it's safe to descend, but their instruments are lying. They are still deep inside the mountains, surrounded by deadly peaks hidden in the clouds. And they are flying too low, too fast, too blind. Then, a scream. A mountain appears, right in front of them. The right wing clips a peak, rips clean off. Debris flies. The tail snaps away, taking 5 passengers with it, vanishing into the storm. The fuselage, now a coffin on wings, hurtles downward, spinning, slamming into the mountainside. Then, nothing. A frozen wasteland. Silence except for the moans of the dying. Of the 45 on board, 29 are alive, some with broken limbs, others bleeding, many in shock, unable to comprehend what just happened. Fernando Parrado lies motionless, his skull fractured. He will not wake for 3 days. Their friends, their teammates, their loved ones, gone. The co-pilot, still alive, wheezes for help, but within hours, he is dead. The sun begins to set. The temperature drops to minus 30 degrees Celsius. They are bleeding, broken, freezing, and no one is coming. Night falls, and so does hope. Day 1. The first night is the longest of their lives. The cold is unbearable, sinking deep into their bones. Some huddle together, shaking violently, their breath turning to ice in the air. Others slip into unconsciousness, their bodies too weak to fight the cold. They have no coats, no blankets, just torn clothing and each other's body heat. Every gust of wind cuts like a blade. Morning comes, but it brings no relief. The sun glares off the endless white, blinding them. The pain sets in, fractured bones, deep cuts, bruised ribs. Some can barely move. For the first few days, they ration whatever food they have. A few chocolate bars, a tin of mussels, some crackers, a handful of dates, and a single bottle of wine. They pass tiny portions around, each person getting just a few bites, just enough to stop the gnawing emptiness in their stomachs. They melt snow for water, but it never feels like enough. Each day they scan the skies, hoping, praying for a rescue plane. They use mirrors, pieces of wreckage, anything reflective to send signals. They even write SOS in the snow with lipstick. But the world is silent. No planes, no helicopters. Just the howling wind and the weight of their growing desperation. Then the radio. One of the survivors, Roy Harley, manages to find a small transistor radio in the wreckage. Carefully, they tune in, hoping to hear news of their rescue. Their stomachs have stopped growling. That's the worst sign. It means their bodies are shutting down, conserving energy, feeding on muscle. Soon they will feed on organs. And then, death. They try to hold on. They pray. They talk about their families. They tell each other they can survive just a little longer. But deep down they know the human body cannot last without food. And all around them, frozen in the snow, are the bodies of their friends. The thought first comes like a sickness, creeping into their minds, repulsive, inescapable. But it stays. It lingers. At first, no one dares to speak it aloud. It is too horrifying, too final. But after days without food, the silence breaks. We have no choice. The words hang in the air like a curse. Some turn away, some whisper prayers, some weep. Others remain quiet, staring at the ground, because deep down they already knew it would come to this. The first cut is the hardest. They do not touch their closest friends at first. It is too much. Instead, they begin with the strangers, the ones they never knew. They use shards of glass from the wreckage, their hands shaking. The bodies are frozen solid, stiff as stone, making the task even more brutal. The first man who takes a bite turns his face away as he chews, tears streaming down his face. Another follows, then another. Some resist, their hands trembling over the flesh, their minds screaming at them to stop. But starvation is not something that can be ignored. Within hours, even those who swore they would rather die find themselves reaching for a piece. Each bite burying the wreckage, suffocating those who sleep inside. Screams pierce the night. Limbs thrash beneath the crushing weight of snow. 8 more are dead. When it is over, the survivors claw their way out, gasping, shivering, their bodies half frozen. Their shelter is destroyed. More of their friends are gone, and with them, another cruel tribute. It is no longer a moral debate, it is survival. The shame is still there, but it is quieter now, buried beneath the primal need to keep breathing. Days turn into weeks. The radio is still silent. No one is coming. The mountain has become their prison, and if they want to escape it, they will have to find their own way out. Days stretch into weeks. The survivors are barely more than skeletons. Their body rides away. For a moment, Nando and Roberto fear the worst. Has he abandoned them? No, he went for help. The next day, rescue helicopters arrive. The miracle rescue. When rescuers reach the wreckage, they find world watches in shock. Their story spreads like wildfire. A true miracle. But then, the truth comes out. The world reacts. They had eaten the dead. At first, people call them heroes. Then, the media shifts. Headlines scream, "Cannibal survivors tell their story." The world recoils. Some see them as monsters. Others try to understand. The survivors explain, it was not a choice. It was survival. They honored their fallen friends. They prayed for forgiveness. Slowly, people begin to see the truth. The aftermath. The survivors return home. The media exploded with headlines. Bulls in the Andes. Some saw them as heroes, others as monsters. The world debated, had they crossed a line? The burden of survival. For the survivors, the judgment was painful. They hadn't killed. They had only taken what death had already claimed. Their friends had given them permission. But guilt still haunted them. Some never spoke of it again. Others told their story to prove they were not monsters. They were human. Roberto Canessa later said, "It was our last resort, the only way to live." What would you have done? It's easy to say, "I would never." But imagine, your body wasting away, your friends dying beside you, no hope of rescue. Would you hold on to your morality, or would survival take over? For the survivors, it wasn't a choice. It was a sentence.
If you have a decent kind of food to eat, if you have a bed, if you have water.
Appreciate the simple things in life.
Yeah, life is more simple than what we think. We really make it complex.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive like this. What do you think? Was it survival instinct or an unforgivable act? Drop your thoughts in the comments.